This is how Coca Cola deceived us all out of hundreds of billions of dollars, and it is unbelievable. Around 1985, Pepsi's Michael Jackson ad and their taste test challenge propelled them ahead of Coca Cola. Coca Cola was then desperate and in dire need to make a mastermind move. And boy, did they make one which not even the greatest minds could have thought of, and they had the guts to execute this. In the late 1800s, Coca-Cola was the market leader in the soda industry. They were making a lot of money, and wherever there's money, there is competition. And Coca-Cola having all the money, that didn't sit well with Pepsi, so they made a greedy move. They ran the Pepsi Taste Test challenge, and what this did was it would show people taste testing Pepsi and Coke, and they would always prefer the Pepsi. And this challenge, it went viral. It propelled Pepsi so far ahead. They were closing the gap between them and Coca-Cola, but Pepsi was greedy. They didn't just want to close the gap, they wanted to annihilate Coca-Cola. So here's what they did. They burned their wallets and they bribed Michael Jackson with $15 million to recreate his famous Billie Jean tune, but as a Pepsi commercial. And that ad was the last blow because it went crazy viral. 97% of all Americans saw the ad 12 times, not even once, 12 times, and that is what pushed Pepsi's sales ahead of Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola's CEO, he's not just gonna roll over, is he? So instead of, countering back with some crazy marketing campaign, what does he do? Coca-Cola CEO, this guy Roberto, he falls into Pepsi's ingenious trap. See, he thinks to himself, if the blind taste test showed that Pepsi's tastes better than Coke's, let's ditch our whole classic recipe and create a new one. And that is what he does. He creates a sweeter formula. He gets it tested with 200,000 people, and they all prefer this new Coke. So on Coca-Cola's end, it's a green light. All right, everyone's loving this flavor. Let's release it. He makes a mistake. Not only does he release the new Coke, just like that, he snaps away all the creation, all the production of classic Coke. What happens next is a disaster. See, after they released it, they were getting up to 8,000 furious phone calls a day. The CEO was getting countless hate letters at his doorstep. People were scavenging, paying thousands of dollars for old Coke, and there were literally old Coke rallies. People were pouring this new Coke into sewers. Pepsi was over there laughing like, you lost billions of dollars, didn't you? Seems like a disaster, doesn't it? Well, here is where the scam starts showing itself. After 79 days, Coca-Cola re-released the classic Coke, and people were overthrown by joy. They were getting their favorite drinks back. But the weird part is, Coca-Cola actually made billions of dollars through this jerk face. See, whilst Pepsi's demand was going above Coca-Cola, that didn't mean Coca-Cola had no demand. There were still tens, hundreds of millions of people who were desperate for a Coca-Cola. So when they completely cut off all the supply, what do you think happened? The demand skyrocketed because, first of all, there was a lot more attention around Coca-Cola now. Whether it was good or bad, it was a lot of attention, and people wanted their drinks back. The demand was through the roofs. So what did they do? See, Coca-Cola has always been ahead of Pepsi over one thing only. Pepsi always has had more revenue. Coca-Cola has always had more profit. That is why it's chosen by investors. And Coca-Cola proved themselves to be the king of the profit game once again. Here's what they did. After re-releasing the old classic Coke, people were so excited and carried away that they did not notice one minor yet major thing. The recipe it's not the same anymore. They made one minor adjustment, which has made them hundreds of billions till today. Before this new Coke phase, Coca Cola was using a very expensive sugar cane as a sweetener. First of all, people's sweetness scales were very heightened because the new Coke was sweeter. In the new re-released Coke, they switched from that sugarcane to an inexpensive corn syrup. And the new Coke was so sweet that people did not even notice that this is kind of different. People didn't notice. But Coca-Cola's accountants definitely did. And let's crunch some numbers and see why. In the old Coke, Coca-Cola was spending around 5.2 cents per can on their sweetener. After switching to corn syrup, they took that from 5.2 cents down to 3 cents. You might be thinking, what, Mar, that's just 2.2 cents. When you notice that they've sold over 20 trillion cans by now, that is when the accountants start grinning uncontrollably. At least in the US and Canada alone, corn syrup has been standardized for them. Since that day in 1985, they have saved over $100 billion, anywhere from 90 to $110 billion. And you know, this is Coca-Cola we're talking about. So they reinvested all of that and probably turned it into so much more. How all of this played so well for Coca-Cola was that they had a very, very large surge in their demand and their attention. And secondly, their costs were so much lower now. So it all played out perfectly. But here is where the conspiracy theory starts. Some people say that Coca-Cola did all of this on purpose. I mean, they can't just snap the recipe like that, can they? No, they needed a transition, and this new Coke scheme was just that. And if that is true, hats off to you, Coke. But whilst Coca-Cola counterstruck Pepsi here, Pepsi did not forget this. They recently just took revenge at the Super Bowl. Watch the whole story here. Oh, and brand owners, let's put a story for your brand up here too. Read the letter in the description. Thank you. Subscribe. Watch this video.